After the ridiculously packed year that was 2023, it wouldn't have been surprising to most of us if the games industry collectively took a bit of a breather this year. But by the looks of it, that momentum isn't slowing down just yet. 2024 may only just have started, but the list of promising major new releases lined up for the year is already looking like an impressive one, and in that list, the one game that's generating more hype and excitement than any of the others is, without a doubt, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Of course, any game in the role-playing genre is always going to demand the attention of the masses, and on top of that, Rebirth is benefiting from the added hype for a Final Fantasy VII Remake, just as its 2020 predecessor did. Even based off of those two factors alone, it would be easy to understand why the upcoming action RPG is so high on so many people's most anticipated lists. But looking beyond that and taking a look at the actual game itself and how it is shaping up, you're still going to find a cavalcade of reasons for why Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is generating the buzz that it is. Like any ideal sequel, Rebirth is promising some major improvements to the already solid foundation it is building off of. 2020's aforementioned Final Fantasy VII Remake was an excellent game, probably one of the best we've seen in the genre in a long time, and its upcoming sequel is looking to build on the strengths in some key ways, which are collectively promising what so far is looking like one of the most exciting RPG releases in years. Nothing is more emblematic of how Rebirth is expanding on Remake than the much more open and non-linear structure it's adopting. Final Fantasy VII Remake was, by and large, a pretty linear game, with the developer choosing to prioritize its combat and world building appropriately enough for the first installment of what's planned as a trilogy. Rebirth, however, is expanding its horizons significantly and is adopting an open world approach. As explained by the developer in an interview with Press Start, though the entirety of the world isn't going to be open to players at once, the game will put you in a single massive, completely seamless world map, one that you will unlock more and more of as you progress further in the setting. Even when you're restricted to, say, the starting area though, the game is going to afford much greater freedom in terms of being able to explore and tackle optional and hidden content, something that we didn't see an awful lot of in Final Fantasy VII Remake. What's more, Rebirth's open world is going to be a one-to-one recreation of the original Final Fantasy VII's entire world map, which means all of the dungeons and cities that you remember will now be placed in a single seamless map. And as you'd expect from that much larger scope and open-ended structure, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is also promising to be a much larger experience than its predecessor, both in terms of its critical path and its optional content. The developer has confirmed that its main setting will be over 40 hours long, but if you were to properly dive into its side offerings, you can easily get over 100 hours of gameplay. As for how much of the side content will actually be worth doing, especially in light of the less than stellar optional offerings of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth's developers certainly seem to be saying all the right things. Speaking to Game Informer, the developer said, when looking at these larger titles in which there is a more expansive world that has these large amounts of side content, some players may feel these have a large quantity of side content, but perhaps the actual experience is not as varied. For Rebirth, we took care of having this select number of side content, which we truly worked to develop in depth. This was a large consideration for us, allowing players to experience various forms of gameplay through the side content. In that way, I believe we were able to achieve a distinctive flavor among similar titles. Interestingly enough, Rebirth's development team took inspiration from The Witcher 3 for the development of its side content, though there will certainly be plenty of optional gameplay-focused activities to dive into, from investigating world intel events to playing the Queen Bloods card game. Particular emphasis is apparently being placed on narrative-driven side quests focused on characters and building their relationships. How well the game can execute on that promise remains to be seen, but we're certainly hopeful. Of course, it also cannot be ignored just how big of a factor the setting itself is in the level of hype surrounding Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is Final Fantasy VII after all. There would be, of course, plenty of excitement even if Rebirth were just a straightforward traditional recreation of the original game. But As was proven conclusively by Final Fantasy VII Remake, this trilogy isn't going to be afraid to deviate from the original setting wildly and in unexpected ways.
You are too weak to save anyone. Not even yourself.
Are you okay? Hey, are you okay?
I'm fine.
How will that continue in Rebirth? How significantly will it move away from the original? How effectively will it answer the many questions that were raised by Remake? What will the expanded roles for the likes of Zack mean for the setting, the latter in particular? And how will the game twist and adapt the original Final Fantasy VII's iconic Forgotten City sequence, which the developer has confirmed is going to serve as Rebirth's conclusion? From all of its setting-related hooks to the significant way in which it has expanded its structure, there's a long list of major reasons for why Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is looking as exciting as it is. Add to that improvements across combat, progression mechanics, new party members, and more, and the potential here is truly exciting. There is, of course, still room for failure here. There always is, especially for a game like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we aren't going to really know just how well Rebirth is going to be able to live up to expectations until we've gotten our own hands on it and experienced what it has to offer. But based on everything that we've seen so far of it, it's looking like the developer is pushing for delivering a comprehensive improvement over Final Fantasy VII Remake in nearly every way, which is saying a lot because Remake was already one of the best role-playing games we've played in decades. To say the very least, expectations from Rebirth are high. And with that, we reach the end of this video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on GamingBolt, so please consider subscribing as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.